Joining us right now is a victim of Phillip Garrido. Nearly 33 years ago, Katie Callaway Hall was abducted and raped by him. Katie, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Most of us just heard this name, Phillip Garrido, for the first time a couple of days ago, but this is a name and a face that has haunted your nightmares for 33 years. You're watching TV last week, you hear his name, you see his face, and think what?
I thought, oh my God, that's the man who kidnapped me. That's him. I ran up, I called up to my husband to come down and see, and I was shocked. I was stunned. I started shaking. Immediately, I had the sense of some sense of relief because he had finally been caught and he was going to be put away. But at the same time, I had overwhelming feelings of the fact that my fears had always been justified.
That you always feared he would strike again.
Mm-hmm.
And when the details began to emerge about what he did to J.C. Dugard and those two girls allegedly, what was your reaction?
I was horrified. I couldn't believe that he went after a child. I couldn't, you know, because he went after an easier prey. But I thought it was horrible, absolutely horrible.
You were 25 back in 1976 when you made what you have called the most horrible mistake of your life. Mm-hmm. You let Phillip Garrido get in your car to give him a ride because he said that his car had broken down. Mm-hmm. So he makes you drive to this remote location, and what happens?
He slammed my head into the steering wheel. He pulled my keys out of the ignition. He had grabbed handcuffs out of his pocket, grabbed both my hands. He overpowered me. He was much larger than me. Then he maneuvered me over into the passenger seat, made me put my head in my lap, and he tied my head to my knees with my hands handcuffed behind me.
He takes you to a warehouse. He rapes you? Mm-hmm. For how long?
About 8 hours, I think it was.
8 hours. Mm-hmm. How did you survive that? What was going through your mind?
Survival instincts kicked in. I just had to be alert every second, every moment. I had to be aware of his frame of mind. I had to just figure out how to stay alive, how to connect with him on some kind of human level and make myself, you know, real to him and not let him go off into his fantasy world.
You were 25. Can you imagine an 11-year-old girl in that situation?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, he snatched her. You know, he actually physically grabbed her. They did. He had to talk his way into the situation with me. And then it was my decision, stupid decision, to give him a ride.
Luckily, a police officer passed by, saw that something was wrong. Phillip Garrido was arrested, tried, sentenced to 50 years. But he gets out after 11. Mm-hmm. Do you ask yourself, how does that happen?
Yes, I do. But the parole officer informed me that he had been somewhat of a model prisoner, that he was very manipulative and charismatic, and pretty much was used to getting his way in prison and with all authority. But when he didn't get his way, his whole persona changed. And he managed to get paroled early. He, at the time I talked to the parole officer, was trying to manage to get out of his 6-month halfway house term, which I don't know if he did or not.
But you do know that after he got out of prison, he shows up at your workplace.
Yes, he did.
And does he confront you? Does he threaten you?
He did. He did. He never identified himself, but I recognized him.
What did he say to you?
I did. He came up to my roulette wheel and, you know, very, very threateningly said, "Hello, Katie." And started asking probing questions about my history, about, you know, how long I'd been dealing, how long I'd been in Lake Tahoe.
Did you tell the police?
I did. Oh yes, I did. Actually, I got off. When I got on my next break, I went immediately to a payphone and started calling around until I found out that he had been released from Lompoc Penitentiary and he was at a halfway house in Oakland.
So all these years go by. You don't hear from him until now, until you see what's happening with him now. You were telling me a few seconds ago you feel a sense of guilt, like you didn't do enough to put him away for good the first time. What do you want now?
Oh, I want him put away forever, or I want him executed. And I know that's harsh, but I'm sorry. I wish that he had never gotten out.